So we have this, gentleman is going to talk about how, when it comes to homes, especially with black people, how we have trouble with some of that. And even how even today, you still have that phenomenon called white flight. And it's also based out of, racism, white supremacy. But let's go ahead and roll this clip.
Buying a home is a good investment for white people, but in the United States, it's not always a good investment for people of color. If 10% or more of the residents of a neighborhood are not white, then the values of the homes will go down instead of going up. The reason for this is that not enough white people will any longer want to buy a house there. When that happens, it becomes harder to sell a house in that neighborhood, and when they do sell, they tend to sell for a little bit less. When property values start to drop, people who have put their entire life savings into their home, it is their retirement, their entire investment, panic, and they will sell their homes, sometimes selling them for much less than they would like. That causes the home's values to drop even more. And then you have people who have mortgages that decide they don't want to live there anymore. But if the property values drop low enough, then they might end up owing more on the home than they can sell it for, which means they can't sell it because selling it wouldn't cover the cost of their mortgage. The only way for them to move out of the neighborhood is to rent out that property to cover their mortgage payment. We've already established that white people don't want to live here, so when they do rent out those homes, they're often renting them out to people of color. So what you end up with is a neighborhood with a lot of people of color who are renting homes from white landlords who don't want to own those homes, who don't want to be landlords, and don't live there. They're not good landlords. And the properties start to fall into disrepair. Eventually, you have properties that no one can live in. And when this happens, the property values in the neighborhood drop so low that it costs more to build a house than you can sell one for. Once that happens, banks will not give construction loans for the area. No new homes are going to be built. Whatever homes are there will survive as long as someone is keeping them up. But eventually, a lot of those homes will deteriorate and fall down.
So as you heard, he said if there are not 10% or more white people in a neighborhood, they automatically deem the neighborhood bad and they move out. Not to say that crime just came in there all of a sudden or they're having infrastructure problems. No, just because they are not more than 10%, they start leaving. And you heard what he said. They leave the house. They don't want to be there no more because they're not there. Their property values drop. Do you realize how wicked that is? So they devalue property based on the skin tone of a person. Not that the infrastructure was bad, not that the homes were built wrong, not anything like that to say, oh, it's not really a good place to be. Just because of the color of their skin and because they're not there, that means it's not a good place to be.
People who have put their entire life savings into their home, it is their retirement, their entire investment, panic, and they will sell their homes, sometimes selling them for much less than they would like. That causes the home's values to drop even more. And then you have people who have mortgages that decide they don't want to live there anymore. But if the property values drop low enough, then they might end up owing more on the home than they can sell it for, which means they can't sell it because selling it wouldn't cover the cost of their mortgage.
This is the anti-black racism that's built into white supremacy. That's in every system that they touch. Every system. It's not one system in this country that don't have anti-black racism and white supremacy built into the foundation and operation of that system daily. See, I don't care if someone calls me a name because of my skin tone. I don't care. I could roast you back. I've always been good at that. But what I do care about is if I purchase a home as a black man, I want a fair price if I choose to sell it. But because I'm not a white man, then I'm going to get railroaded. Not because my property is bad, not because I didn't do some good improvements, just because I am black. And when I think about that and I look at things like that, it just, for me, it's like, I'd rather not even own certain properties here because if own it for what? I'd rather go just get some places in Africa, some African countries, right? Because what is the point? If I can't get good prices on it because of the color of my skin, at least if I get some properties over there and I choose to sell it, at least I'll get something good off of it, right? Because over here, I'm sabotaged. How many stories have we seen Black Americans have been undercut on property? How many times have we seen it? How many times have we seen Black people have to file lawsuits or use their white friend? I mean, if to be honest with you, racist as this anti-Black racist as this country is, a white person could create a business right now for Black people and say, hey, if you need your home to be appraised, you hire us, and then we'll go in your home, and we'll be there for the appraisement or the selling of the home. We'll just be you. I mean, is that bad? Listen, I'm gonna be real with y'all. If I had to sell a home or do something like that, I would go hire a white person to do it. I'm talking about to act like they me and all of that. I would do it. I'd rather that. Yes, I would do it because I know how racist this country is. If I can get $500,000 with the white person, and if I sell it, I get $200,000. I might well go hire the white person. That's how racist this country is. Sure, I could sue and all of that. Sure, I could prove it, but after I get my lawsuit money, it's still gonna be the same. It's still gonna be the same. These people are not changing this anti-Black racist system anytime soon. Only way we can get around that unless we do business with each other, sell to each other, and keep everything in-house. But we don't want to do that as a community. I'd rather get some property in the continent of Africa and do Airbnb or do something like that over there. You know what I'm saying? Because even here, they try to shortchange if you want to do that. I'm just saying it's like the economic sabotage is more of my problem than calling me a name. I don't care about a name. Is that. Because listen what the man said. When it comes to them folks, a home is an investment. When it comes to Black people, it's not an investment because you're going to lose on it.
Buying a home is a good investment for white people, but in the United States, it's not always a good investment for people of color. If 10% or more of the residents of a neighborhood are not white, then the values of the homes will go down instead of going up. The reason for this is that not enough white people will any longer want to buy a house there. When that happens, it becomes harder to sell a house in that neighborhood, and when they do sell, they tend to sell for a little bit less.
You do better investing in some ETFs. At least you get some returns on it. And when you sell it, hey, you sold it. But shoot, man, when it comes to them engaging with you, it's sick. But I post these videos, and I appreciate the man talking about it. These kind of videos, just to let Black people know the condition that we're in. It's like how much of the sabotage that these people do to us as a people. They're constantly trying to sabotage our hard work. When these people say, well, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you could do that all day long. But they're going to sabotage you every step of the way. And the only way they don't sabotage you unless they can eat off you. If they can eat off you, then they won't sabotage you because it's going to hurt them by sabotaging you, right? But if they can't eat off of it, no, they're going to sabotage you every step of the way. And that's the biggest issue and problem that I have. But, maybe some of you who are homeowners who are trying to sell your property or did an appraisal, let me know in the comments if you experience what this man is saying. And listen, this man know what he's talking about. He know his people and he know exactly what they do. It's just bottom line. That's why we need an anti-Black hate crime bill in this country. And that's why we need reparations. And on top of an anti-Black hate crime bill, we don't need to be paying taxes on any kind of land that we get. And we also need federal oversight of the banking system and all the real estate, all that. You got to have all that put in an anti-Black hate crime bill, because it is a hate crime to me to sabotage Black people sale of their homes or appraisals or even getting loans. That needs to be put in the bill too.